Now, in a major diplomatic and economic breakthrough, India and the United States have unveiled an interim framework towards a broader bilateral trade deal. While this comes after US President Donald Trump announced a trade deal with India and in fact reduced tariffs on India from 18% from the earlier 50%. Now, the trade deal is expected to be formally signed by mid-March. The US has also scrapped the additional 25% tariffs on India over the purchase of Russian oil. A major win for India, with crucial sectors such as agriculture, dairy protected, while the move opens about, a $30 trillion market for Indian exporters, especially MSMEs, farmers, and even fishermen. In return, India has agreed to purchase up to $500 billion worth of US goods over the next 5 years, from energy to aircraft, tech, and even industrial products. A commitment that India says reflects the growing demand and not investment pledges. Now, India is also preparing three-tier tariff reductions on United States imports, granting zero duty access in many sectors, phased quota cuts, and even protecting sensitive staples like dairy and cereals from duty opening. Meanwhile, we also have some guests joining us on the broadcast. We have my colleague Aditya Rajkol joining us on the broadcast. We have other people as well joining us. I'm just going to take you through the details. We have Mr. Rudra Chatterjee. He is joining us. He's from the director of the OPTI and the Lakshmi Group. Apart from this, we also have Peter Maguire, who is from the CEO of the Trading.com of Australia. Aditya, I wish to understand from you first. It's an important framework that's come through. Walk us through the details for the viewers that are just tuning in. What are some of your key takeaways from this?
It's a historic India-US joint statement on a trade deal that has not been signed yet, but there's a March deadline to it. So the entire formal structure of the signing will take place in March, and negotiations will continue till then. But this is a framework that has been agreed upon. It's an interim agreement, and a joint statement of 12 crucial points have been released both by the White House and India's Ministry of Commerce and Industries. In fact, this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed this as a big win for India. Good news for India and US. He's stressed on the manufacturing, Make in India, and several such initiatives. It's a big boost for the exporters here in India as well. This is some give and some take, as happens in FTAs and trade deals. When it comes to leather, when it comes to textile, when it comes to gems, stones, as well as diamonds, it's a huge win for India. Even for the pharmacy, India is the world's largest provider of the generic drugs to the United States, and hence the import duties being cut on it will be a big win for India. For exporters here in India, it's a big win, from home decors to leathers and textiles. A lot of Indian products will be now going to the United States at a much lower, tariffs. Apart from that, India will be cutting down significantly on the tariffs on US products also, but it also gives a huge, massive market access. And that's the big news. For India, there's a huge 30 trillion market access that is coming in. And for the US also, there's a huge opportunity here in the country. Apart from that, the huge issue that had been erupting over the last 1 year between these countries was on Russian oil. There was an executive order that was signed by US President Donald Trump just a few hours ago that has eradicated the 25% additional tariffs that was slapped against India in August 2025. So it's a good news on that scenario.
I also wish to bring this conversation forward to Mr. Rudra Chatterjee. Rudra, Aditya was just talking about how it's a big win for Indian exporters. I want to understand from you, what does this mean in immediate and practical terms for exporters who are operating within India? What exactly does this mean for them, given that, this is the framework, but like Aditya was mentioning, that the final deal, the fine print of the deal is about to come in March?
So India is already a major exporter into US, and it's part of significant value chains. What happened with the 50% tariff is those value chains were being questioned and stretched. So there were discussions whether should we resource products from outside India. So immediately what helps is that conversation ends. The resourcing from products from India does not change, because at 50%, when it got announced in August, it was a shock.
Right.
And the changes take time. So by the January, which most US companies start their new financial year, there's a discussion, where do we source now? So the fact that this happened in February means that India is not going to lose US as a market, which was a risk. Now the question is building up over it, because our tariff now is actually more efficient than many other countries that export into US. I can speak for furniture and carpets.
Right.
India's 60% of Indian carpets go to US, 30% of Indian furniture go to US. So how to get into the US retail chains compared to Vietnam and other countries that are large exporters into US?
Right, and I also wish to take this conversation forth to Peter. Peter, like I was mentioning, that this is just a framework, and it lays down the design for the deal that's about to come in the next couple of months. Walk us through some of the key sectors in which all eyes will be. Remember that when the deal comes about, it will be under a great deal of scrutiny. People will be looking out at it. So, what are some sectors that one will have to look out for?
Well, I think, Reid, a couple of things. First off, you've got to be considerate as far as what's the overall framework, the benefits naturally to India and to the United States. America wants to be the economic powerhouse and to continue that with energy and, of course, with many other, rare earths, crypto. So it's the epicenter, and it's a strong strategic tie with India. The relationship, I think, you've only got to look at it, between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, I think is a gold standard. And how that plays out, I think, is going to be very beneficial for both countries. And that's just not hot air. That's truly the essence of what India needs. It needs the largest market in the world as far as wealth, and the consumer, the American consumer, is the epicenter. Then you're looking at President Trump benefits, and I think it'll be very, very significant benefits to India from an energy production standpoint.
Right.
Venezuelan crude, the largest finds in the world, the largest reserves, and increasing the US footprint as far as production. So I think cheaper energy prices and all of that's going to play into the benefits, certainly, of India moving forward, Reid.
Right, going back to my colleague Aditya, Aditya, agriculture was something that was a big point of contention. The opposition here in India has also raised the concerns when it comes to the agriculture sector time and again. And I believe that there's a clarification also that's come about from the Commerce Minister. Walk us through what exactly has the government said when it comes to, the agriculture sector and it being, sort of exposed to a vulnerable section.
Well, safeguarding agriculture, dairy and poultry have been top priorities of the government. In fact, they have spoken often about that, not just in the context of the India-US deal, but also the India-EU deal. Over the last 48 to 72 hours, Reid, we've seen multiple statements from Government of India, from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, to, of course, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who is India's agriculture minister, and they have assured the Indian public that agriculture, poultry and dairy products are completely safe and out of the domain areas.
Right.
But of course, there will be domestic politics. We've seen inside and outside the parliament, the opposition and the Congress gunning for the government when it comes to US-India deal, because a lot of these nitty-gritties and technical aspects of the deal have not come out. We have just seen 12 points in the joint statement that have come out now. Earlier, we just had Truth Social post of Trump and Prime Minister Modi's ex-post. And there would be thousands of pages that this deal goes into, which will only be available in March. So the final details and the blueprint will only be available in March. As of now, we have seen since morning Manish Tiwari to Priyanka Chaturvedi attacking the government when it comes to a deal. But there is, of course, an amicable win-win diplomatic situation that has been arrived at.
Right.
There are many wins for India. Of course, India had to, release some of the barriers, of course, for the United States. Many say that the India-EU mother of all deals also led to this particular deal.